Her hair was different that first morning. Uneven. Her long blonde curls, which usually fell to both shoulders, now only touched one. "Oh my God, Abby, what did you do to your hair?" my wife Erica said, prompting me to look up from my bowl of oatmeal and see that our little girl's hair had changed. Abby stood groggily by the fridge, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "I just woke up." "You cut your hair," Erica said. "No, I didn't." "Nick, look at her." I smirked. "I see." "I didn't cut my hair," Abby protested. "Go look in the mirror," Erica said. Abby did as she was told. From the bathroom cried, "My hair!" Then she came rushing back with tears in her eyes. "Somebody cut my hair!" Erica and I exchanged glances. Then I said to Abby, "You really didn't cut it yourself?" "No." Erica put a comforting hand on Abby's back and said, Okay, let's go fix it." Erica was able to even up Abby's hair and make her presentable enough for school, and after dropping Abby off at the school bus, came home and said, "You think she's lying?" "Well, it wasn't you or me, so yeah," I said as I adjusted my tie. "Did you check her room for hair?" "No." Erica gaped at me. "Nick!" I shrugged. "What? This isn't forensic files. Our daughter cut her hair. It'll grow back. She'll probably be embarrassed, that's all. What if she didn't, though?" I turned and smiled and ran my fingers through the thinning hair on my own head. "Then I guess she takes after me." Erica frowned. "Nick, that's not funny. She's 6. I leaned forward and kissed Erica. "I know. Don't worry. I'm sure there's a lock of hair in the trash upstairs. We'll talk when I get home." That evening I came home to find Erica still upset. "There wasn't any hair," she said. "Maybe she flushed it." Erica sighed. "What if she's sleepwalking? She's never before. Well, she's only been walking for like 5 years." I smiled. "True. We should get her tested." "For sleepwalking?" "Yeah, like a sleep study." "She's fine, Erica. She cut it herself. You never tried to cut your hair as a kid?" Erica shrugged. "I guess. And it ended up looking terrible, didn't it?" Erica smiled. "Well, yeah. I didn't know what I was doing back then." "Exactly. And I'm sure you were very embarrassed, just like Abby." "All right, fine. I get it. Just do me a favor and talk to her and make sure she doesn't do it again." I stood from the sofa, placed my hand over my heart and playfully announced, "With God as my witness, our daughter will not cut another hair from her head." Then swiveled on my heel and exaggeratedly marched up the stairs. "Godspeed, Sir Nick," Erica laughed. Abby was lying on her bed, flipping through a copy of Green Eggs and Ham when I walked over and stood in the doorway. "Permission to enter?" I said. "Permission granted," she said, rehearsed and repeated time and time again. "Thank you, milady." I walked over and sat next to her on the bed. "Ah, Green Eggs and Ham. A fine piece of literature." "You can stop talking like that." "Talking like what?" I said in the same posh English tone. "This is how I sound." Abby dropped the book onto her lap and rolled her eyes. As she did, a mosquito landed square onto her forehead. "Don't move," I said, carefully moved my hand to her forehead and gently popped it. "Ow!" she cried. "Why'd you do that?" "Should have had a V8. "What?" I smiled and showed her the squashed mosquito in my hand. "Ugh, that was on me." "Yep. He came back to check out your new haircut." Abby frowned. "I don't like it." "It'll grow back." "I know, but still, it's ugly." I set her book on the nightstand and pulled her covers up over her chest and said, "It's impossible for you to look ugly. Promise?" "Promise." I leaned over and kissed her on the forehead and then playfully grimaced and said, "Ooh, mosquito-y." Abby giggled, and I stood and noticed a warm breeze blowing from the nearby window. I walked over and saw it cracked open a few inches. "Did you open your window?" I asked. "No." I peeked outside, and seeing nothing but the orange glow from the neighbour's house lights, shut the window, locked it, and drew the curtains. "Must have been Mum," I said, and walked to the doorway. "Sleep tight. Don't let the mosquitoes bite, and don't cut your hair." "Dad!" I know, but still, don't." "I won't." "Very good, my lady," I said in the English tone she hated. Abby sighed and followed up with a, "Love you. Love you too." I found Erica already in bed after brushing my teeth, joined her and asked, "Did you open Abby's window?" "I don't think so. Why?" "It was open. I don't know why I would have. It's so hot out." I sat there for a moment thinking, and said, well, good night, then kissed Erica and turned off the lamp. Nick, wake up! I opened my eyes to see Erica standing over me. I rolled over. It's Saturday! It's happened again! I rolled back over. What? Her hair! It's been cut! I sighed and kicked off the covers. How bad? Bad. We walked over to Abby's bedroom. She was sitting on the bed, the left side of her haircut to above her ear, the other side at yesterday's chin length, and she was sobbing. I walked over and said, Abby, what happened? I didn't do it. Well, who did? I don't know. Somebody had to have done it, and it wasn't Mum or me. Abby pounded on the bed and screamed, it wasn't me! I looked at Erica and she said, we're getting her tested. Fine. I stood and nodded at the doorway, and Erica met me in the hall. Are the scissors still in her bathroom? No, I took them out yesterday and hid them. She must have another pair. I stared past Erica, and she asked, what? I pointed at the wall. She turned around. Oh, Nick, squash it before it stings one of us. A wasp. I stepped into Abby's room and pulled the curtains, and sure enough, the window was open. I feel like we're using her as bait, Erica said as she stood at the bottom of the ladder, watching me install a camera in the corner of Abby's room. No, we're going to figure out which one of us is sleepwalking. Abby says she doesn't have another pair of scissors, and she doesn't know where you hid the others. So it's got to be one of us. You don't know where I hid them either. I didn't answer and kept working on the camera. Wait, you think I'm the sleepwalker? I didn't say that. I'm the only one that knows where the scissors are. So if you don't think it's Abby, then you must think it's me. I looked at Erica. Let's be honest. You're the only one here who went to cosmetology school. What's that supposed to mean? Makes sense that you cut hair while sleepwalking. I'm not a sleepwalker. We'll see. If anybody is sleepwalking, it's you. I sighed. Jesus Christ, Erica. First you were saying it's Abby, now it's me. You talk in your sleep sometimes. Talking and walking are two different things. It's more than I've ever done in my sleep. I tightened the final screw and then stepped down the ladder. Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? Erica shook her head. Whatever. I just don't want this going on any longer. Abby's running out of hair. The following morning, Erica and I got out of bed together and crept into Abby's room and carefully pulled the covers from her face. Erica gasped and put her hand to her mouth. Patches of hair were missing from the left side of Abby's head, and the window was open. Erica and I rushed back to the bedroom and grabbed my phone and played the recorded footage from the previous night. For the first few hours, Abby was sleeping, occasionally tossing and turning, but nothing out of the ordinary. We fast-forwarded further into the night, and there was a slight movement by the window. The curtains fluttered as if from a light breeze. Then, an arm extended through the curtain and felt around the surrounding area and then disappeared back outside. A second or two passed, and a head poked through, followed by a torso and then legs, and then, in almost complete silence, a woman in her entirety had slithered into my daughter's room. Erica gasped and squeezed my arm. Next, the woman stood. The footage was black and white, so it was difficult to determine the exact colour of her hair, but it was dark and straight and fell to her waist. Her outfit, some sort of long gown, was equally dark, and her feet looked bare. She sidled over to Abby and stood staring at her, then reached into her gown and took out a bottle and rag. She unscrewed the top of the bottle and pressed the rag to it, tilted it, then screwed the lid back on and returned the bottle to her gown. Then she leaned over Abby and held the rag over her mouth for several seconds. She returned the rag to her gown and took out a pair of scissors and began cutting. When she finished, she put the scissors away and stood with the hair she cut from Abby in her palm. Then she ate it. She shoved my daughter's stolen curls into her mouth and chewed, and when she'd finished, she licked her hand clean of any remaining hairs. Then she turned from Abby and walked to the window and then stopped. She turned her head and looked directly at the camera. Her dark hair hung over her face. She stepped towards the camera and past it and into the hall. I fast-forwarded the footage. Every minute up to the moment Erica and I checked on Abby, the woman never went back. Erica, I whispered. She might still be in the house. We both turned and sprinted down the hall yelling for Abby, and when we made it to her room, we found her lying in the bed beneath the covers asleep. We both breathed a sigh of relief and stepped into her room. Abby, wake up, Erica said as she pulled the covers away. Shit! She gasped and stumbled backward. The woman was lying in the bed, chewing, blonde hair poking from between her lips. "Call the police," I told Erica, and tossed her my phone as I rushed and yanked the woman from the bed and pinned her to the floor. "Where's my daughter?" The woman kept chewing. Behind me, Erica was on the phone, frantically crying to the dispatcher. "She did something to our daughter. Please, you have to come now. No, we don't know who she is. Please, hurry." "Erica, check the footage," I said, then turned my attention back to the woman and said, "Tell me where she is." The woman stopped chewing, staring into my eyes, then opened her mouth to reveal a wet clump of hair on her tongue. I wrapped my hands around her throat and squeezed. "You bitch," I yelled. "Nick," Erica grasped. "She's in the closet." I spun around in time to see Erica yank the closet doors open and see Abby blue in the face, hanging limp from a tie knotted around her neck. At that moment, I felt a sharp pain in my side and looked to see the woman had stabbed me. "Ah!" I cried and pushed her off, and she pulled the scissors from me simultaneously. Then she quickly leaped to her feet and sprinted out the open window and vaulted out. "Abby!" Erica cried, having gotten her untied and on the floor. I crawled over and reached the bloodied hand to Abby's neck. "She's got a pulse," I said, and saw the colour returning to her face. "She's breathing too." In the background, we could hear approaching sirens. Abby and I both made a full recovery. From the footage we saw, the woman had crept into Abby's bedroom after Erica and I had gone back to our room that morning. Abby was still asleep at the time, and the woman chloroformed her again, then cut her hair, dragged her to the closet, then hung her with a tie she had taken from my closet, most likely during the night. The window, as it turned out, was never actually locked. It was a faulty design that we were unaware of and never thought to check. The good news is that Abby's hair has grown back, as I assured her it would. We've also moved to a new house. The bad news, however, is that the police never found the woman. They searched the house for DNA and found some, but couldn't match it to anyone. Nobody recognizes her either, from what they've told me. But she's out there. She has her scissors with her. And it's only a matter of time before she sneaks through someone else's window and cuts their hair. And eats it. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to support this channel, we have a link in the description for that. Don't forget to give a subscribe, a like, and press the bell to get notifications. Tell us your thoughts in the comments section. You can also send us your real or fictional horror stories.